Good evening and welcome here to Green White Checkered TV. Tonight I will be your host, Boomer Logan. I am very excited to be bringing you the action from the Area 51 Super Speedway NextGen series here on Sunday nights. And we're at the beautiful Talladega Superspeedway, 2.65 miles in length, 75 laps on the docket for this evening as we get into the later stages of this season. And I've got some help tonight in the booth. Mr. Gael Brooks has joined us for this wonderful Sunday night to call the action with me. How are you doing tonight, Gael?
I am good. I'm excited for tonight's race. I'll say I was kind of torn. It's one of those torn between a rock and a hard place. Like, do you want to race? Do you want to broadcast? I enjoy doing both, so it was a tough decision, but it made it a little easier because I was able to kind of help cover for Matt tonight. Say he is doing well, but he can't really talk for that long. So we're kind of switching seats. He's gonna race. I'm gonna talk, and it's gonna be a lot of fun here tonight at Talladega. So, but you're right though. These cars, this series. I mean, I say I've done a couple of races and it's been fun, man. These things are a whole different animal than the trucks and the Xfinity cars. You got to really be on your game, on your toes the whole way through. So I'm looking forward to see what these guys have in store for us.
Definitely should be a great battle, and we're getting close to that cutoff for the playoffs, so we're going to bring up the championship standings through 6 races as of last week at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Obviously, we've got our 7th race of the season here at Talladega, and one more at iRacing Superspeedway next week before we cut off 12 drivers that will be in the championship race, that hunt for the playoffs to make their run at that championship for this season. So Eric Laurie still sits on top of the standings at 206 points. Jim Brooks, Bud Steele, and Gabe Butler still are top 4. Rick Sanchez, after that win last week, jumping up 3 spots with 162 points to spot number 5 in the championship standings. Kevin Freese relegated to 6th place with Brandon Briggs, Ryan Decker, Nick Manfredi, and Gael Brooks just behind them. Tom Dixon, Brad Slagle, James Mullen, Edwin Outlaw, and Zachary Workman also in the top 15 right now, but obviously there's a little bit of a gap between Brad Slagle and James Mullen there. That be about 16 points that James is going to have to get up to make it into that field. Obviously, with Gael running tonight, he may jump out of that top 12, unfortunately, but we appreciate you being here in the booth with us tonight. So yeah, it looks like we have cars getting to the grid, so we are going to bring that information up, as it looks like my SDK is going to hiccup on me, so we'll get that cleared in just a second, but we'll take you through our starting lineup as they take to the grid. Cars are making their way to the front stretch, and we will get you pulled up here. Some camera views while we wait and watch these cars get ready to roll off. Gabe Butler is going to take that top spot with Rick Sanchez to his outside in that 510 machine. Matt Wagner putting it third, second car in the inside lane with Brian Wang in the 07 to start on the second row. Joshua Hanner and Eric Laurie will be your third row for this evening, with Austin Call and Bud Steele behind them in that fourth row. Todd Merkel and Jim Brooks rounding out the top 10 for your starting grid tonight. Josh Laston also and Nick Manfredi in the top 12 to round out our first page of the grid here. We'll take you to that second page here. So that will be just a few more drivers. We've got Larry Fairman and Edwin Outlaw, as well as Chris Bassini in the top 15 to start. Derek Buffo, Jimmy Pyland, Brandon Briggs, and Tom Dixon will round out your field of the 19 drivers who have qualified. So looks like we are ready to go, and we are rolling off track. I'm going to take a moment here. Apologies that the championship standings managed to stay up there, but we'll get that cleared here in just a second, and we will be right back for the start of this.
Wouldn't be technology without any hiccups, and I was saying that's just part of the gig on that stuff.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so, and you're right though, I'm looking at the points that you mentioned as I'm looking to see who's here, and it's honestly going to be a little bit too of kind of who may or may not be in the race. I'm trying to double check here, looking through the names. I don't believe I see Brad Slagle right now in that 12th, who's in the 12th position in the race here tonight. So that could be a position change as well. James Mohan, trying to peek through. Actually, I think we have a few drivers missing tonight's race. So yeah, so this could shake up the running, or it could be an opening. I'm looking further down the order. Larry Fairman, he is here this evening. He was sitting in 19th spot. This could be a big opportunity for him to jump up in the points with some of these guys missing races. And of course, Ken mentioned as well, there will be the one drop week for the regular season. So that could always come into play as well. So we'll have to see kind of what the strategy is going to be for some of these guys, if they're going to kind of play it safe, go bonus points, or are they just going to be going out for the outright finish, because of course bonus points for incident free race. And really that's what I was looking at as well on the point side of things. That's really where Eric Glory, he's been really racking up the bonus points. He and Jim Brooks both, actually 24 bonus points for Eric, 25 for Jim. I mentioned Eric, he has only had 4 incident points this entire season. That is very, very clean racing for that 071 driver.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely, I mean, 4 is outstanding. Look, actually, Gael, you've got 4 as well in the top 10, and Todd Merkel and Robert Jordan and Larry Fairman also with 4 incidents. It's definitely hard to do in a league with all super speedway races like this, so definitely props to them for keeping their cars clean, and you can definitely tell that's why Eric is on top of those point standings. But we are back underway here, at least for the graphics part of things, so we should be set for the evening, and looking to see the 88 machine of Gabe Butler lead this field down to the green flag. Long wait down this front stretch, but they do enter the Geico restart zone. In just a moment there, you'll see the green flag being thrown by iRacing, and we are underway for 75 laps here at
Talladega. And remember, we always have to mention, Boomer, you're required to at Talladega. The start-finish line, it's not in the middle of the tri-oval, Boomer. It's at the end of the tri-oval, and so you could be leading coming through the middle and lose the race at the end of the tri-oval. So that's what makes things so different between Daytona and Talladega. But my preference of Talladega, it's 8 feet wider, and that makes the world of difference between being able to run 3x3 without problem, or being kind of feeling you're really between a really squeezed spot there. So but right off the bat, though, that outside lane, man, they got through the gears quick, though. The 510, the 07, Richard Sanchez, Brian Wang, they're going to take the top 2 spots.
Yeah, it looks like 4 of these Team Bootnaka drivers are just settling in here. I don't know if that was a plan or not. I would assume it might not have been.
I think it might be. They're breaking away already.
They're already lined up nose to tail, the 4 of them. You can see they're pretty well lined up. The 07 of Brian Wang now pushing the 510 of Rick Sanchez, Eric Laurie, and then Gabe Butler in the 88 machine, and they are definitely breaking away. As you see, Gabe Butler's the next driver. He's got help with Bud Steele in those 2 Ford machines, but behind them, not a lot of organization, and I'm really shocked that this has broken up the pack this early. But there's definitely a concern for some of these guys towards the back of the pack, because if you get disconnected from this draft, it is a lot harder to get back up to it. The runs are very fast, but you can lose that draft a lot faster in these cars, so definitely a concern for some of these guys towards the back of the pack.
Yeah, unfortunately, cut out 1 right off the bat. That's the 63 of Brandon Briggs, so now he's just going to have to sit and kind of hope and wait for a potential yellow. I say you never want to have one, but if there's a time to have it, you kind of hope that you'll be the one to benefit from it. And also looking also further back, Nick Manfredi, Larry Fairman, and Edwin Outlaw, they're at risk of kind of falling off the back. So we could go from 18 at the green to dropping to about a 13-car lead breakaway here, just because of how quick this is. Like I said, the way those top 4 got together, they kind of try to run away there. And Matt and them did catch back up, but right now we've got pretty much a yellow line train right here.
Yeah, it looks like Nick Manfredi and Larry Fairman are going to be able to catch back up to the draft because they were together, but unfortunately for Edwin Outlaw, he has lost that draft, so him and Brandon Briggs are going to have to ride it alone for a while and hope for some chaos in the action. And one thing we do want to mention, we had another playoff driver not take to the start of this race. Tom Dixon must have missed that grid, so unfortunately he will not be racing tonight, but we will move on as we move back towards the front of the field. Pretty much single file here now. I mean, that is insane how much faster the pack is compared to where Edwin Outlaw and Brandon Briggs are. They are both 7 and 13 seconds behind the pack and absolutely falling.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the lap times. They're running basically high 48s, 48.8 or so for the front pack. And then Edwin and Brandon, 51, 53 second laps. And say their foot's to the floor. You know, they can only push that pedal so hard, but that's what the draft does. And again, I'm seeing a slight separation there from about Chris Bassini on back. Just again, it's so easy to fall. You just fall a little bit back. You're pretty much relying on that guy behind you. And the other thing with these next-gen cars, there's that bubble that I'm sure you guys have talked about before, where once you break the bubble, it's a whole different ballgame. But unless you can get there, it's like there's like a beach ball in between you, and you get closer, you're closer, and then it like pushes you back away. But once you break through it, though, then you really lock onto the bumper, and that's where these cars make a ton of speed. But sometimes, depending on big check on the inside line. Look at the momentum that 11 took straight to the top of Larry Fairman. But yeah, once you get that momentum though, and you can get hooked up, you can really start to haul the mail.
Yeah, that's a great point, Gael. It's something that I haven't had a chance to actually mention on the broadcast yet. Just from my, fairly, lack of experience, I guess would be the best way to put it for racing these cars. But yeah, it definitely makes a huge difference between. I mean, drafting with these cars is a completely different story compared to just about any other, series of car that we have on the surface here in iRacing. So it's definitely a different ball game and interesting to see. But you kind of have to learn that, and obviously you can't really, some of the skills of super speedway racing obviously definitely correlate from from Thursday nights to Sunday nights within the trucks, and then here in the NextGen series. But it's definitely a different ball game. Looks like we actually see Brian Wang jumping out of line, getting a lap led maybe, and heading to the back. I don't know. I don't think he actually did lead a lap. So I'm not sure.
I think he got sitting in second.
Out. Yeah, I'm not sure if he got shuffled out.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe he's wanting to have some fun. Maybe wants to help lead that outside line. And say Brian's been kind of a part timer, but when he is here, he's definitely always one to watch. Very, very quick driver. So I wonder if maybe he's just said, you know what, I heard on the radio the 11 was talking about wanting to try to get that second line going. And I think Larry's maybe trying to drop back and pick him up. But right now we got also, I think, maybe some connection issues. I think the 64 has been having a lot of connection issues, and so they're going to try to work and getting that squared away.
Yeah, you can see him kind of bouncing in and out there. That's the 64 of Austin Call. Definitely unfortunate to have that for sure. You never like to see that. He's up there. He goes. Disappeared for a second.
Yeah, whenever you're right behind that, it's never a fun feeling to have, too, because you just don't know where he is, where he's going to pop out in front.
Yeah.
Actually, during practice, I was joking with he and the car behind him, the 3 of Todd Merkel, because at one point I guess he had a connection issue where he kind of blinked out, but then he actually blinked back inside of that 64 car, and the 3 were actually like literally inside of each other. And then once one was faster than the other, they kind of cleared out, but it was a little awkward there for a moment, not knowing what was going to happen between those guys. But yeah, so I think Brian, though, I think he just wanted to pick up that 11 of Larry Fairman, wanted to see hey, you guys want to have some fun? Let me come get you guys and let's go for it.
Yeah.
They've also picked up that 36 of Jimmy Pyland. I know this is Jimmy's first race over here at Area 51, so definitely glad to have him on board here in that 36 Coca-Cola machine. So
yeah, the two of, he's
been a sponge so far this season, so he's been trying to learn a lot.
Yeah, the 2 of Joshua Hanner also jumping out there to the front, so he is going to lead that outside lane there.
And look, you see how those 7 is right on him there, Boomer.
Yeah, he's very much connected right there. The 07 of Brian Wang is.
And that's what you got to do with these cars, though. You have to stay locked onto that bumper. You want to stay, like I said, you want to be in the bubble, because this is where you will literally feel and hear the revs of your car pick up when they get in that bubble. They get that little bit tighter. Your car, you feel it. It's just like, yep, I'm going faster now. And it's a really good feeling when you're trying to get to the front and you have that happen. Like I said, there's one of the better pushers in the league there in that 07 right behind him. And yeah, they're pretty much lockstep, and they're already getting to that top 3 or so next to the 88.
Yeah, definitely making some progress so far. Definitely cool to see something making happen on the outside lane, as we really kind of settled in pretty early into single file racing. So making something happen there. The 2 in the 07 there, that wonderful closed circuit racing paint scheme. Nod to the old Dodge days. Oh man, those the Dodges look great. Obviously, they did a really great job putting that template together. Obviously, he's running a Ford, but he's running a Ford body, but obviously you see the headlights and the taillights in the Dodge, really the Dodge Charger style. So really cool to see what could be if Dodge were to ever come back and design their own next gen car.
Yeah, say hint Dodge, say it would look really good in the field. So come on over. And saying he also got the alternate scheme just a little bit further back in that one of Chris Pacini. I love that. Like I said, it's kind of like this that throwback to the Evernham Dodges really that they had. Those are great looking cars. Really enjoyed that, the sponsorship they had. But yeah, closed circuit, they've been really good at having these original paint schemes with their team sponsorship, team sponsorship, I should say. But to match the theme of the car with Dodge in this case, and they've had some other really good ones as well. So I always enjoy seeing what those guys have to put up with in the paint scheme department.
Oh yeah, definitely. It looks like the two's getting a decent run there with the '07 just behind him. They're making their way almost even with Eric Laurie, and he will be. The two in the '07 actually have more momentum through the back straightaway and into turn number 3, as it looks like the two's going to be clear here coming down the front stretch into the tri-oval. He's clear down. He's going to move all the way down in front of the 50 or the 510 of Rick Sanchez.
Yeah, I'll say we'll see if he leads the lap though, because momentum is shifting right back to the top side, and it's tight. I think Brian's gonna get the line there at the line. He might lead that lap instead.
Too. Yeah, it's so amazing how much, and I know that they've been talking about it more in the Cup Series, especially if you listen to like Door Bumper Clear, some of the podcasts out there in the NASCAR world. The spotters of Door Bumper Clear and Dirty Mo Media always talk about the momentum and what's the word they use? There's definitely, I'm trying to, words are so hard sometimes, but there's definitely a bit of a run or momentum that you can get, like almost like a freight train, where one line, either the bottom, the inside, or the outside is making that momentum and is helping carry them. And if you aren't in that lane, you're going to fall back, because now we see the outside line has lost all that momentum, and the '07 now relegated back to 7th place in that outside line just from losing the two of Joshua Hanner and not get got clear and got down to the bottom lane.
Yeah, and I think the big difference too is look at the gap between the 11 and the '07. Every so often they just about break the bubble, and then the gap opens up again. That was the difference that we've seen so far, is the '07 was able to stay right onto the two of Joshua Hanner, whereas right now Larry Fairman just hasn't been able to get that lineup onto the '07 of Brian Wang. And also, I loving the throwback too for Brian Wang. Says it's not one that's familiar for a lot of drivers, but I say he's got that Hash Brothers performance paint scheme there as one of the best Area 51 racers, honestly, just one of the best iRacers in general, in my opinion, of Larry Yingling. And I'd say that's pretty much a spitting image of the paint scheme Larry would run with the Thursday Xfinity cars. So love seeing what he's got on that one on track, and would love to see Larry back on track, but he's more of a speedway guy. Oh, big checkup though on this inside line as we're catching that number 63 here.
Yeah, big checkup there, and they're all disconnected as the '07 is now getting a big push to the '88. They're going to have the momentum on the top side to see if they can push all the way down the backstretch into turn numbers 3 and 4. Brandenburg is going to be on the outside there, sitting duck. Unfortunately, the lap car. Hopefully, he should be able to grab the back of this pack and stay with them now. As it looked like the 36 of Jimmy Pyland was blinking there himself for just a moment, but you see there now the 88, the '07, and the 11 of Larry Fairman all jumped down to the bottom lane after they had a bunch of momentum. This is definitely going to hurt that outside lane, as they're probably going to start falling back just a little bit, but I know Chris Bassini there is probably going to want to get back up to his teammate in the 2 machine there at some point, but Jimmy Pyland, Josh Lassen, and Chris Bassini working hard to try and keep that outside lane going.
Yeah, no, you're right, and you can see right now, so you can see that '09 is just pushing at 36 for all he's worth, and like I said, this is his first race in the league in that 36 car, so this is kind of one of those trial by fires that's like, hey, hope you're comfortable, because you're gonna go for a ride right now. But right now, like you mentioned, though, it does look like, I believe Brennan was able to tag onto the back of the draft right behind Nick Monfrey, so that's good for him, because now there will be a lucky dog battle for Edwin here, because he's just now getting put a lap down too. So that's where the 63 and the 12 now are going to battle for that lucky dog battle. So now Edwin needs to do the exact same thing as Brandon and try to grab onto the back of this draft, because like I said, it's super easy to lose it.
Yeah, you can see the speed difference there.
Nervous.
Yeah, I think he's probably going to, unfortunately, not grab the end of that draft there. There's a big speed difference between the two, and looks like he just wasn't in a good position to grab the end of that draft. So he's going to have to just sit and ride again and hope to catch it the next time around, unfortunately, in probably another 3 laps. So, there's a car. Wow, looked like Nick Monfredi might have got on the apron a little bit, but he's okay and no issues there. So, interesting.
But yeah, pit window's going to be opening here pretty soon. I think the 12 actually might be hitting pit road this time. I thought I heard him call out. Yeah, here he comes. He's going to duck on in here a little early. But I think this isn't a bad option actually, because again, running by yourself, just pit a little bit early. I think he still won't. It won't change his pit cycle, and maybe he can merge out in with the rest of the field and kind of get that break he's looking for. But yeah, pit window shouldn't be too far away here. I was hearing probably about the high teens, maybe low 20s for pit road. So I'll keep an eye on that. But man, that second line though, it's done. I mean, you can see it's pretty much we got that yellow line train once again here. Now it's Jimmy Pyland. He's got to be real careful, tag him, get on the back, and not lose this draft. Like I said, it's so easy to have that happen. So I'll have to keep an eye and make sure he's able to hold on to these guys. But yeah, I have a feeling, I think everybody's getting ready for those pit stops, and they just want to make sure that they don't get caught on that outside line.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a nice looking paint scheme for that 36 of Jimmy Pyland there, but nobody's coming this time by, it looks like, so we'll have to wait until at least the next lap. But the whole field now is pretty much just situated there, single file all the way back, so we'll have to see who's going to come this time by. But definitely 18 laps is pretty much what we're expecting for fuel. You might be able to stretch one more lap to go 19, but it's really not going to make too much of a difference here tonight. Obviously, you know, the more laps that you can go, it helps with the fuel count for the last pit stop. But I think it's pretty much going to be, I think, what, a 3-stop race here tonight?
I think 3-stopper, yeah, pretty much guaranteed. The only thing that could throw a wrench into plans is if we get into that green-white checkered Tory, because there are 3 potential attempts at one. So that could get you all the way up into probably about, what, in the 80s, even maybe touching lap 90, depending on if and when those cautions fall. So there is potential for these things going way further than the original 75 lap distance. So I'll have to keep an eye on that as well. But I'm kind of listening into the drivers here further in the back, and I think kind of that according that happens from time to time gets a little bit some unintentional bump drafting, if you will. I think some drivers are being a little bit nervous about getting bumped when they're mid-pack, not wanting to get contact. So, and so you see right there, actually, looks like who's at 67 of Derek Buffo. He's a good run down the back, able to get around the 51 of Jim Brooks. He's going to slot in right between himself and Josh Laston. But right now, yeah, these guys kind of keeping it clean and green and still listen. Well, I think I see a few takers. Here we go, pit road.
Yep, about half the field's going to come down this time. So that's Gabe Butler, Richard Sanchez, Eric Laurie, Brian Wang. Everyone, for the most part, getting in okay. See some tire smoke and a little bit of locking up, but looks like everyone is down and okay. Gabe Butler is going to be first on pit road. We'll see what kind of times that they can get as far as being organized with their teammates. Definitely helps when you can pit with teammates and get back out on the field. You see Derek Buffo, Todd Merkel, and Brandon Briggs in this group as well. And looks like most of these guys electing to take only 2 tires or no tires and fuel. I think it's 2 tires.
I would say, it's going to be 2 or fuel only with this track here. And it looks like everybody so far is getting, oh, no, Richard Sanchez looks like he's going to have a pit penalty. Has a very lengthy stop. The 67 also had about a 17-second stop. But here comes a second pack, and it is getting tight in between there.
The 11 got into the grass a little bit. Saw Jim Brooks in the 51 get a little out of shape too, but he was okay, and they're for the most part down and away. Looks like we got Joshua Hanner, Matt Wagner, Bud Steele, Jim Brooks, Josh Laston, Nick Manfredi, Larry Fairman, Chris Pacini, and Jimmy Pyland. So this is pretty much the whole entire rest of the field. Ooh, the 29 machine is going to overshoot his box there by a lot. He is going to, unfortunately, probably lose this pack. As you see, most of these guys are down and away and off onto the pit out road. So we're going to pick up Gabe Butler here and Eric Laurie, who are going to fairly easily sail by the rest of the field, I would think. We'll see where the rest of this second group comes out, but this 88 and 071, by the time they get back to pit road, should be in pretty good position here. Looks like Josh Hanner and Chris Pacini were able to link up pretty well, so they're going to get to each other at some point. There's going to be a lot of momentum here, obviously, for Gabe Butler and Eric Laurie, for them to ride right around those 2 closed circuit teammates. But
look what they're doing here, Boomer. Yeah. Look what they're doing. They're staying up top. They're trying to break that draft and not let those 2 Dodges get hooked up to them. But this is like the COT tandem days here.
I know.
Boomer. You got 2 by 2 by 2 by 2.
Yeah, because now you got Austin Call and Brian Wang together. the 10 of Bud Steele's trying to hang on to them, but they're by themselves. And then really the 10 of Bud Steele and Jim Brooks are kind of linked up together too. And then we got to go back to Josh Laston and Matt Wagner, our teammates right now. And Derek Buffo and Nick Manfredi are going to find each other. Todd Merkel's pretty much by himself, unfortunately. So is Jimmy Pyland, Rick Sanchez, Larry Fairman, Brandon Briggs, Edwin all by themselves. But for the most part, we've got about a two tandem group here. Looks like the 64 and the 07 have found the 88 and the 071 as well. So they're going to be a 4-car pack here at the front of this.
We've gotten back
actually, take it back.
Yeah,
yep. We zoom out,
yep.
and we see.
Oh wait, we got
unscheduled stop here for the 2 of Joshua Hanner.
Let me check here. This may have been possible pit penalties. I'm looking to see if there's any black. Oh yeah, Larry Fairman, Jimmy Pyland both had black flags. So possible unsafe pit exits, I'm going to say, crossing the yellow line potentially.
Could be. There's Jimmy Pyland. He was coming down that time by. So yeah, Larry Fairman, Jimmy Pyland, and Joshua Hanner looks like with pit road penalties, unfortunately. So they're going to be a couple laps down here by the time they get out of here. But
I got to talk about the teamwork though on that one, Boomer, because Hanner staying out there made sure his teammate there in the one of Chris Bassini made sure he got up to the lead pack and was hooked onto him, because normally those guys, they serve those penalties as soon as they possibly can. But this time he actually went ahead and he stayed out as long as he probably could and then hit pro, just making sure that one held on to it. So that's some good teamwork there by Hanner. So unfortunately, I said it really hurt him. And unfortunately, also looks like with that second penalty, or I'm not sure if it was first or second penalty for Larry Fairman, looks like he's actually gone ahead and retired that 11 car from the race. So that leaves us, I believe, now 17 still in the field here. And they're actually working on catching to put Rick Sanchez, who I believe was on the outside of the front row here, going to put him a lap down early.
Yeah, he was started second and spent a lot of time towards the front of this pack tonight. Most of his teammates there are sitting
on pit row, though. That killed him.
Yeah. So right now we've got Gabe Butler, Eric Laurie, Austin Call, Chris Bassini, Bud Steele, Jim Brooks, and Brian Wang in this first pack. They are probably going to pick up the teammate of the first 2 cars, that is Rick Sanchez there. He'll get to the end of this pack. He'll be the first car 1 lap down. So that bodes well for him if a yellow were to come out. Behind this group, we've got Matt Wagner and Josh Laston, who are still doing the 2-car tandem by themselves.
Yeah, and, they still have the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, Josh is definitely doing a great job pushing Matt. He's pretty well connected there, but unfortunately, that last time by, they were almost a second slower than the rest of the field. So there's just way too much momentum in that pack of those 7 cars in front, or 6 cars in front of them, to be able to catch up. After that, we go back another 9 seconds or so to this pack here, where we've got the 67 of Derek Buffo, Nick Manfredi, and Todd Merkel. Actually, no, I take it back. This is just Derek Buffo, Nick Manfredi, and a couple lap cars of Brandon Briggs and the 36 of Jimmy Pyland. We go even further back to Todd Merkel still running by himself. And then, Richard Sanchez is at the end of the pack here. So, the only one we hadn't talked about was Edwin Outlaw, who he is about to get put 2 laps down, it looks like. But looks like going to be just in front of the leaders here. So he'll hopefully latch onto the back of that pack and unfortunately call it 2 laps down for him.
Yeah, no, it's a tough break. I said, and that's the thing is these things every so often they tend to go clean and green for a good chunk of it. So mistakes are kind of what gets you, and that's what caught Rick Sanchez in that 510. And I was going to mention too is on the way the points are going right now. Right now, the top 4 in points are all in this main pack. You got the 88, the 071, the 10, and the 51. Those are the front 4 in the points, and they are in this lead pack. So well done to those guys. Rick, unfortunately, the first one out there, again, losing getting lapped from the pit road miscue. But yeah, then let's say I'm looking forward to see what somebody, like I said, some of these guys haven't really run a lot with us so far this season. Austin Call, I look forward to seeing what he's going to have in store for us. Chris Bassini as well. Those guys, I say those are the kind of the wild cards, if you will, because you can pretty much guarantee that Gabe and Eric are going to work together. You can guarantee Jim and Bud are going to work together. And then Brian Wang, I'd say, actually probably would also work with Gabe and Eric and company. But the one in the 64 right now in this pack, there aren't really any alliances for those guys that I'm aware of. So say obviously still a long ways to go. Just crossed about the third of this race here. Going to start lap 28 here. But yeah, that's gonna be fun to see. And before we know, we're gonna get to lap around 40 or so. That's gonna be our second round of pit stops, and then they'd have one more to go under our scheduled distance.
Yeah, it should be pretty good. You definitely have highlighted. I mean, we've always highlighted the teamwork that happens here in this league. I mean, it's no secret that Gabe Butler, Eric Laurie, and a lot of the guys at Team Bootnaka Esports are very strong when it comes to working together and organizing there. But definitely, we haven't seen too much of those closed circuit guys, as we do see Joshua Hanner now getting picked up by his teammate. So his teammate, the One Machine, is actually going to come up and grab him to help him get up to speed in the draft. And we haven't seen them run a ton this season, but we did see them leapfrog almost win the race at iRacing Superspeedway by themselves, where they came back from, I think, like 10 seconds back on some of the Team Bootnaka guys, and a few more things of chaos ensued. But we got some smoke here. And it does look like Jimmy Pyland. Yeah, it looks like Jimmy Pyland has crashed. Now that we're going to take a second here and go back to that and see if we can see what happened. But looks like the 36 getting a little bit of a push to the 63, where the 63 got loose, and then the 67 kind of still pushing the 36. Looks like those guys are going to get collected, and that's going to be a head-on impact for that 36 machine. That is a big hit, and probably going to need the fast repair to get that car back to... Man, that's a big hit.
That's a tough hit. Yeah, no, and I think what happened there is, it's obviously hard to say from just where we were watching it, but I think what happened was when that one car got out of line, I think the 36 was trying to let him back in line, probably lifted a little bit. But again, when you're behind somebody, you really just see the spoiler of the car in front of you, so you really got to call out if you're in a big pack, like, hey, checking up or whatever, because that's what's going to happen. You're going to get that accordion effect, and unfortunately, that's, I think, what caught out Jimmy there. I don't think any intent or anything like that. And the other downside is, since there was nobody behind that 36 car, iRacing deemed that didn't need to bring out a yellow. So for all those guys that are out of the draft or a lap down, they were really hoping and banking on that yellow, but did not come to fruition, unfortunately for them.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate for sure, but we're going to stay green. One of the biggest things that we've seen in the past, maybe not necessarily always in this series, but just in plate racing in general, is you saw all four of those cars were pretty much linked up nose to tail, bumper to bumper all the way through. And anytime I've ever seen somebody try to quote-unquote push the pusher, where that third place car is pushing the second place car is pushing the first place car, these doesn't bode well, especially not for that second place car in line. And unfortunately, it seemed like that was just it was no one's fault really, but just an unfortunate circumstances. We're going to see, looks like Todd Merkel and the 36 of Jimmy Pyland should be able to hang on to this lead draft now after their issues here tonight, but they're going to hopefully catch on and stay at least with the leaders. Todd Merkel will be one lap down, so him and the 510 of Rick Sanchez are going to be fighting for that lucky dog position were a caution to come out. But one thing I think that's kind of fun here, you see Brian Wang is still trying to make this outside line work just to see something happen, see what he can do, and he's actually getting a push from his teammate of Rick Sanchez that we just mentioned is in that battle for the lucky dog spot. So Rick is all over the back of that 07 trying to make something happen, get some momentum there, as now we see Todd Merkel is actually going to jump up and join them as well. But something I just want to highlight real quick is I love to see Todd's got, obviously he's got the next gen car, but he's got the previous generation Mustang nose on that car. So a couple teams here with some really cool paintwork in these cars to make something different happen. Obviously you see the closed circuit guys with the Dodges, and then the free machine with the different hood on that Mustang that looks more like the previous generation of NASCAR stock cars. So really cool to see a lot of these guys and a lot of these beautiful paint schemes and how hard these guys work to make this series look really great on the track.
Yeah, these painters get really, really original. And I say the other, I say I can't ignore some of the front runners here too, because I definitely want to give a shout out in that number 88 of Gabe Butler. So he's added a few things to the side of his car on the 88. As he's got his wife Jeannie on the name rail of that car, and then I think he's also got like a heart in the middle of the 88 as well. So I know Gabe's mentioned she enjoys the shout outs from the races. So definitely, if you're watching, Jeannie, thinking of you and hope you're doing well, and saying I'm sure enjoying watching your man right now lead this race. But as soon as they say that, I think there's some strategy going on, though, letting Brian Wang now get to the front and maybe trying to see if they can get that 510. You think Richard Sanchez maybe get tail end of the lead lap instead of being the first car one down? But actually, no, here we go. They're going to squeeze onto the bottom. Oh, this is a lucky dog battle, though. Look at this, though. That 510, he got hung out here, and that's going to move Todd to the lucky dog spot.
Yeah, so Todd's going to jump in line there. He had a really great opportunity, just kind of stayed with that 510, and unfortunately now that 510 is pretty much just going to go to the back of this pack. You should be able to hang on to this at the very least, but now we've got a fair amount of lap down cars here in this pack with the two of Joshua Hanner, Todd Merkel 1 lap down, as you mentioned, and obviously Richard Sanchez 1 lap down as well. So yeah, so about 10 cars here in this front pack, a couple lap cars, but the guy leading the way is the 07 of Brian Wang, who finally got that outside lane working with that 510, and unfortunately for the 510, his hard work did not pay off for himself, but at least he got his teammate back to the lead, and now it's Team Bootnaka lined up 1, 2, 3 at the front of this pack.
Yeah, saying, yeah, you wonder if Rick at those points like, what just happened here, guys? I thought we were going to try to get myself in the lucky dog position or tail and lead lap here. But again, still a lot of racing to go. But obviously, though, yeah, if a yellow comes out, though, right now, it would go to that number 3 of Todd Merkel. So, yeah, Todd did everything right there. He jumped in that draft, got up track position, and then was able to tuck in line when he saw the momentum was shifting from the top back to the bottom. So really, really great heads-up driving for that 3 car.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, yeah, I think a lot of these guys are just kind of cruise control right now. Jim Brooks, Bud Steele, I think they're just kind of biding their time, waiting to make some moves here. I think probably saving fuel, because the more fuel they can save now, I wouldn't say they're going to go longer in the stop, Boomer, but I would say what they'll probably do is they'll try to shorten their fuel pit stop, because they'll be able to kind of get a quicker in and out with just having to kind of plug in the fuel can a little shorter than these guys that are going to run this thing pretty much empty here on this fuel run.
Definitely interesting to see how this plays out. You kind of see, obviously, we've been, for the most part, been single file here since the 07 jumped down in front of his teammate in the 88 in this pack, but they are single file, getting ready here in about 4 or 5 laps to make that second pit stop. And we got Django chiming in here saying it's still anybody's race, and that's definitely true. Obviously, we could have a yellow, get one of these lap cars back on the lead lap, or we could stay green, and this pack of about 7 cars on the lead lap still have a shot. Just about anybody in this group has a shot at the moment to win this race. But we'll take a moment to highlight some of our other drivers through the field. Obviously, we mentioned that the 6 machine of Matt Wagner have been tied up to big move there by was it Nick Manfredi there, trying to or no, was that the 12? This is the 12 of M1 Outlaw, excuse me. But the 6 and the 09 are connected. Nick Manfredi and the 67 of Derek Buffo are still connected with Brandon Briggs there in this pack. And I think that's, for the most part, all of the packs that we have. A couple by themselves. Edwin Outlaw still riding out there. He should be able to pick up this draft of the 6 and the 09 machine to not be by himself. And we see Jimmy Pineland here on pit road now, getting his second pit stop down for the evening. And that's,
yeah, it's a long stop too. I wonder if he's maybe getting damage fixed, or maybe doesn't have a fast repair, not sure. But yeah, really lengthy stop for him. That's going to drop him even more down, unfortunately, in this one. So not the opener he was looking for, but I'm thinking Boomer is, they pitted on lap 19 last time. We're lap 30, coming to 38 right now, coming to 39. Do we see the leaders pit this time, or can they maybe go one more? But I think we might see a mass pit road here in just a moment.
Yeah, I would think that these guys are going to be coming, yeah, another 19 laps, so we would expect them to come this time by, and some of the Chevys dip down. It's a land grab towards pit road, and the 07 of Brian Wang is going to lead them down. Gabe Butler, Eric Laurie, Austin Call, Bud Steele, Richard Sanchez, all down this time. Yeah, split strategy so far.
So I think we'll see is probably Merkel will pit with Jim and the 2 and the 1. I think these 4. So this is where they got to basically do their qualifying in lap, kind of for those that watch F1. I know, Chris, if you're still watching, the overcut, if you will, is where you pit a lap later, but you try to get a really fast in lap and be able to try to get that track position over those guys that pitted that previous time. So I'm looking at the pit stop times, and it looks like for the most part they stay locked together. I think too that, oh no, they just hit pit road. I'm sorry. So I think, yeah, it looks like everybody here hitting pit road pretty well together. So now this next group got to hit pit road nice and clean.
Yep, looks like they get down and away pretty well. About 3 wide. Ooh, a little bit of
Yeah, so now they got to make sure they get in their stalls here. They won't step
yeah.
on each other's toes.
Yeah, so 2 of these guys here, yeah, definitely got to make sure you get to your stalls in the correct order. Once you get onto the concrete portion of pit road, that is when, ooh, looks like the one is going to slide through his stall. But the concrete portion on pit road, you are basically essentially a ghost car to everyone else where there's no contact that can be made. But once you make your way back onto the asphalt portion, then you can make contact with other cars, as we see Josh Lassen and Matt Wagner in this time by as well. And looks like Gabe Butler and Austin Call are going to bring it around the front stretch to regain the lead, as we see some of the drivers.
Oh, yeah, the second group's in trouble, though, because it looks like it's just those two coming out together.
Yep, the
and
1 and the 2
just blow by him.
Yeah, 1 and 2 are about 6 car lengths behind each other. They'll find each other, but not quick enough, I would think, to be very helpful. But it does look like the 3 of Todd Merkel is going to grab the the 30. Was it the 36 there? I think
36. Yep.
Yeah, so they should be able to at least have enough momentum to hang with this front pack here. As the 3's going to tuck in there, hopefully.
I said 36. He needs a 36 to push him.
Yeah, I think that 36 has got too much damage, unfortunately.
Yeah, it looks like pit road penalties. What happened to Jim Brooks? He lost the draft. He had pretty much had a 40-second hold after his pit stop, so he's just leaving pit road now. So I'd say it's just starting to add more and more drivers to the end of at the edge of basically being on the lead lap or not. Yeah. So
he will have Edwin.
Dwindling.
Yeah, he will have Edwin Outlaw with him at least. It looks like if Edwin, something's happening to Edwin. Looks like he's had a bit of a rough pit out there, so maybe Jim won't, but that's definitely unfortunate for him.
Yeah, I'm looking to see around where Jim is if he has any help. And really, yeah, you're right. There's really nothing because there's Edwin and then there's Brandon Briggs, and they're all kind of separated from one another. So either
pack.
And then ahead of him is Nick Manfredi working with, I believe that is the 67 car. And so, yeah, so they're working to Derek Buffo. So, yeah, so right now they're pretty much all split up right here. So we lost 2, it looks like, in that main pack after the second round of pit stops. And it's not going to be for lack of effort, but, man, Passini and Hanner, they are just trying everything they can here. But I'm just watching the intervals, and it's unfortunately clicking the wrong way. So yeah, I think we're going to have now a 5-car, well, I should say 5 cars in this lead pack right now. It's a bigger than 5 cars, but yeah, right now it's pretty much what you got. But it's pretty split up though here, Boom. I mean, you got 3 boot knockers with Gabe, Eric, and Brian. Then you got Austin Call and Bud Steele. So I'll say there's a little bit of a split there. But they're just going to start, I think, picking up lap cars though as they go, and that group's probably just going to grow bigger here.
Yeah, we'll see. Definitely still a couple lap cars. The lucky dog battle still continues as Rick Sanchez, 4th car in line. Todd Merkel looks like the 6th or 7th car in line now. So there's definitely going to be a good battle there if a yellow were to come out. But for the most part, riding around single file, waiting for the last pit stop to be made. They do have Brandon Briggs on the back of this pack now, so Brandon finally getting to draft with that front pack for probably the first time tonight, unfortunately, but he is now currently 2 laps down behind the leader and would need a little bit more help to get back on the lead lap. Looks like, as you mentioned, Jim Brooks just ahead there. He's probably going to be swallowed up by the pack. Hopefully can grab onto the end of that and maintain at least that 1 lap down status, but he'll be in the mix for the lucky dog battle if he can latch onto this front pack.
Yeah, so you're talking about the 63 Brandon Briggs. So he's got the perfect Talladega paint scheme. He's got that Talladega Nights, the me sponsorship car. That was always a really fun paint scheme on that one. Look at Gabe Butler actually here. He's jumping to the top here, maybe worried about either fuel mileage or maybe just planning ahead here for strategy. I'm not sure. Actually, Chris Passini in the 1 car, he's on pit road, and let's see, it might be an early retirement for the 1. I'm not sure. But yeah, unscheduled there for the 1 car because he was in that main pack as well. So not sure what happened to the 1. Hopefully all well, maybe hardware issue or something like that. I'm not sure, but yeah, Gabe jumped up. He's dropped to the back. 64, he jumped up, and now he's fallen back there. Some strategies afoot here, I feel like. I wonder if they're trying to get that 5-10, maybe Rick a little further up the running order. I'm not sure, but that puts Bud Steele to the front. And you know what, though, actually here, if I'm Bud, I don't know if I want to, I'm fine leading a lap. I don't know if I want to be the leader of the race, though, because now if they decide to make an off-pit strategy, they can try to do it with being behind you, so Bud can't really react to these guys if they jump in. Let's say, obviously, I'm jumping the gun here, but let's say they pit next time, he wouldn't be able to react to that because he'd be ahead of them when they hit her road. So honestly, strategy wise, if I'm Bud here, I almost think about, I got that lap led that last time by. I'm gonna jump back now and pick up the back of the pack just to make sure, because I think it's basically for he and Austin Paul. I think they need to stay behind the boot knockers, and pretty much whatever they do, you do too.
Yeah, that is interesting. I definitely somewhat expected. I don't know if that was just maybe something for Gabe. Obviously, he's being pushed by the 64, who's had some internet connectivity issues. I don't know if that's something where he was just nervous about that and wanted to pick up his teammate of the 07, or if they were just trying to jump in line to give Rick a better shot at that lucky dog race. But who knows? Definitely interesting for sure. But the 64 also jumped back there and found his way in line behind Brian Wang in that 07. So we continue to click laps off as we are almost to the 2/3 mark here in this race, working on lap number 46 this time by. You mentioned Bud Steele. If these two Bootnaka guys who are lined up, 4 drivers behind them, if they pit at some point, if he doesn't have time to react, that definitely will not bode well for him, especially if most of the rest of this pack does not elect to pit, because really the only other lap car or lead lap car in this pack is Austin Call, and he is behind the Team Bootnaka guys, so he would have that opportunity to react. So we'll have to wait and see what the strategy is for them. Obviously, Todd Merkel is sitting back there, and Jim Brooks, they are also in that lucky dog battle to try and get back onto the lead lap, only being 1 lap down. So at least
here they go. They're going to try something here.
Yeah, maybe they have something to try and make some progress. They're going to try and jump out to that outside lane there and see if what they can do. 07 might go with him, though. He might throw the block. Yeah. Interesting. I don't know.
Maybe Brian Wang wants to get back to the front, or just
maybe he does, yeah.
Or maybe he's just, I'm gonna try to slow these guys up a little bit. I don't think that doesn't sound like a Brian thing.
I don't think so.
I think Brian just wants to get to the front. So
I think he just wants to have fun, honestly. Like he's been,
Brian, yeah.
Yeah, he's been up and down. I mean, if nothing else, I think he is gonna have the one. He's gonna be the one that has the most knowledge by the end of this race as far as what move is going to work to win this, with how much he's been trying throughout this race.
Yeah, no, I like the idea, and I think you're right though. I think Brian's like, you know what, I just want to race. So you get those guys that are get in those modes where it's like, we've been riding, I'm ready to go. Let's go do some stuff. So, and they've gotten up to the 071. They've got to Eric Laurie. But again, you can see though, the 510, he was just for a moment there, pretty much in the bubble of the 10. But now it's they've separated themselves a teeny bit. Actually, look at this though. Bud's gonna jump top to pick up the 07 car. So some more strategy being big bump by the 07 onto the 6. So. Yeah, these guys are starting to dice it up a little bit more, and now that lucky dog battle here, it could change, but look at those two just shove each other away from the field.
Yeah, they're definitely going to get a good jump out ahead, and now that 3 machine of Todd Merkel is flirting with that lucky dog position there as we hit lap number 48, coming to lap number 49. He's not going to get down and clear, so hopefully he can find that opportunity, but there's definitely a pretty strong push from that 07 machine to that 10. And there he is. The 3 is clear. He's going to jump down in front of the 510. 510 is going to play. He's going to try the crossover on the super speedway, as now looks like Jim Brooks is going to make it to the high side all the way around him. And it looks like the 510, unfortunately, trying to be the first car 1 lap down. He's going to get shuffled to the back of this pack. And it looks like Jim Brooks is actually going to pick up that spot to claim the lucky dog for now. If he can get clear of that 3 machine, he's not. Now he's back in line about with the 071 there. So definitely interesting so far, but it seems like they're just trying to have some fun here, make something happen for, I mean, there's really only 5 guys in this race right now that have the ability to try and win this thing.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's almost a bigger fight for the lucky dog right now than it is for the win of this race as they run. Again, we talked about the pit window. These guys we were saying it seems like about 18, 19 laps. Look at there goes Jim Brooks.
He is now
he's gonna
lucky
take
dog.
the lucky dog spot. So, and we'll see though. Watch for the 3. I think he's going to take the momentum to the top here. He's peaking, but does Eric follow him? Nope. He thought about it, but Eric didn't go, so he stays down.
Oh, and Bud Steele's going to get out of line. It looks like, yeah. So I think that's a smart move for Bud Steele, because now he can react to whatever the Team Bootnaka guys are doing. Or maybe he's just seeing how dicey it's getting here, and he's thinking, yeah, you know what, it's getting fairly close to pitting time. I don't think I want to be out here making the moves you guys are right now, and I just want to settle in line and get a nice pit stop and be there in the pack by the end to try and win this thing.
Yeah, the strategy is very intriguing, I must admit. So now you got Brian Wang now leading two lapped cars, the 51 and the 3, and then you get the 71 Eric Laurie that's in second place, Gabe Butler, Austin Call, Bud Steele, and then another lapped car there of the 510 of Rick Sanchez, and then two down is the 63 of Brandon Briggs. So that's our lead pack right now. Like I said, it's a big group, but it's very split up to who's lap down, who's lead lap. And again, look at the shuffle now. You got the boot knockers. They had said, hey, let's all jump to the top here. And so you got, yep, there was 071. So they're going to have the four. Oh, squeezed. This is so interesting. Oh, poor Rick. I don't know, just like a flex move there. It's like, hey, look what we can do. Oh, but look what's happened though. Yeah, they got up here.
Top 5. Oh, I was not pressing my button. Sorry. I was going to say that the Team Bootnaka guys had a chance there with 3 cars in the top 5 to try and win this race, but unfortunately with that action, that shuffles Bud Steele out, and he's going to get pushed back to, I mean, he's going to lose the draft here, this main pack
Yeah,
here.
he's lost the draft. And he's actually keyed up a few times. I think you guys are just trying to either run me out or run me out of field or something like that. So he feels like they're picking on him there on that one. So yeah, so it seems like yeah they're just trying to shake guys off one by one with little moves here and there. And so yeah, like I said, now it's just Austin Call that's in this main pack here. And I say for Bud, unfortunately, I think he's too far off the back now. I was gonna say his best option was maybe try to see if he could drag back just a little bit to the 63. To see maybe then the 63 of Brandon Briggs maybe shove him back up to those guys, but I think now it's just too far gone. So yeah, this is an interesting. I'm listening to Bud again,
Yeah.
and I say right now Bud is actually Brandon's biggest cheer. He said, "Just push the hell out of me. I don't care if you wreck me." So
Yeah, that is funny, and I apologize. I realized it was not using my push to talk, so cut out there for a little bit. But yeah, that's unfortunate for Bud Steele and for sure. Definitely hate to see that, but you know those Team Budaka guys are really showing their ability to lead and take control of these races, and they're in a pretty good spot here now with 22 laps to go. I would expect them to start thinking about coming down here fairly soon.
I think like 4 more. I think if they can get to 18 to go, you feel good, and then anything else would just be kind of icing on the cake for potential green white checkers. Because we've been seeing them basically about what 1938. So it's like if you do that, yeah, it would be what lap 47, I would say, right, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, and I think that for the most part, obviously, you know, if you're going
57, sorry, 57.
Yeah, if you're going 19, that's okay. If you're going 19 laps at a time, you're really only gonna put yourself like 1 or 2 laps to the good to the finish. So it's definitely you know, it's definitely there's not really a lot of room for margin or improvement there, but we do see Josh Laston and Matt Wagner down this time. That seems like that's
too soon.
Yeah, it looks like there's some damage though for the 6 machine. I don't know if he's trying to repair that, but Joshua Hanner's in the pit as well, but he's actually been Joshua Hanner's heading down pit road that time as well. I don't know if he's been sitting there for a little bit.
Oh, and actually that damage just came that previous lap. That's why they pitted actually.
Okay.
They were trying to draft each other really hard, and unfortunately they the 2 got into the 6, and that's actually why they opted to pit there. Is I think Matt just had the damage there, and so I want to say that Josh last night actually said, "Hey, I'll come in and work with you to try to help you out a little bit." So not a scheduled stop. Net. They're still outside the fuel window now with that too. So not the ideal situation, but again, just everybody's trying to get everything they can out of these guys, and just got a little too aggressive and it wound up biting them. But It looks like Chris Passini has officially disconnected and retired from the race. So, and actually Hanner as well. So, yeah, so we're starting to drop a few more drivers here.
Yeah, unfortunately. So we've got just a few cars on the lead lap now. Brian Wayne, Gabe Butler, Eric Laurie, Austin Call, and Bud Steele, as well as Nick Manfredi and Derek Buffo. And they're not going to be too much longer on the lead pack, as it looks like Nick Manfredi and Derek Buffo are just about to get lapped by the pack. And they're actually, they're not even connected right now. So hopefully they have enough momentum to hang with this front pack, but you're going to see how much of a speed difference there is here between how they're running just two cars by themselves and this pack here as they come out of turn number 4.
Yeah, that's the fact that there's two of them, that should help their cause here. And I would say now at this point, Boomer, the pit window is open here. They're crossing the line here, 18 to go around. So at this point, pit road, the pit window basically open for your final stop to make it to the end here. So like I said, now, and actually Bud Steele, he's going to come in this time. So maybe trying to short pit a teeny bit here, see if that maybe gains him something, or he may have just been tight on fuel himself and just had to pit that time. I'm not sure. But yeah, so unfortunately, like I said, he kind of got used up there on that previous run there by
Yeah.
a couple of those drivers. So let's say he and honestly pretty much the rest of the field, short of Austin Call, they're going to need help. They're going to need a yellow to get back into this race. And obviously for the top 3, top 4, they say, yeah, let's keep this thing clean and green to the end. So,
Yep.
but yeah, I say get ready to see probably some pit stops here in just a second.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate for Bud Steele because he had to pit all by himself too there, and looks like this whole lead pack is going to try and make their way together. A little bit of a lockup from a couple guys, but it looks like for the most part everyone is good and away. Down pit road, led by Brian Wayne, Garrett Butler, and Eric Laurie there. The 64 again of Austin Call, the only non-Team Bootnaka driver who is still in the hunt for this race, and a couple lap cars we've been documenting here in this front pack. So they're going to try and see where they shake out. And looks like Bud Steele has picked up the 36 machine of Jimmy Pyland, at least to draft with. I know we've mentioned Jimmy seemed to have a little bit of damage even after that wreck where he got turned head on to the outside wall. So hopefully, it's some bit of drafting help for Bud Steele, but unfortunately, probably not enough to help him get back to the front of this pack, as we're probably going to see these lap cars, they're already making their way down the backstretch, as looks like the 6 machine of Matt Wagner and the 09 are actually able to get back on the lead lap with that move, or sorry, excuse me, back to 1 lap? No, they are on the lead lap actually here.
Yeah, so right now that got him back on the lead lap there.
Yep.
And now the next question is now the drafting. And so you see
Okay,
the
so
boot knockers, they've locked on here.
Yep, they're tail end of the lead lap now. Yep. So
okay. And I think the boot knockers got they wanted to. They've got the 1, 2, 3. They've got the gap as well between themselves and Austin Call. The 3's just now getting hooked back onto Austin. But you see Jim Brooks is trying to tag back onto him as well. And like you said, unfortunately for Bud Steele, just not quite close enough to pick up those guys. But now, this is now where pretty much everybody except the top 3 are now hoping this thing gets the yellow somewhere in this race. And these 3 just want this thing to go green to the end. And they want to set sail and just run away from the field here.
Yeah, pretty much. Definitely a very well executed pit in and pit out for these guys. And you can see, it's pretty much going to be a 1, 2, 3 for Team Bootnaka unless anything crazy happens. But looks like they're going to go high here and put the 6 and the 09 1 lap down once again, unfortunately, but they should be able to at least hang on to these guys. But the 4th place car of Austin Call definitely has disconnected from that draft. Now he's hanging out with Todd Merkel and Jim Brooks, and that's pretty much going to do it as far as anybody in contention for this win here, unless we get a yellow, which with how split up the field is, I would be very surprised to see.
It's kind of it's both ways. Like I said, they're really spread out, so it's like probably not likely. But what also happens is that's where people start to push just that little too hard to try to make up a distance between either, let's say, this pack and the pack behind, or say, hey, there's a group that's like just 5 seconds ahead, we can push up there and get to them. Because like I said, honestly, a lot of these guys probably willing to go for broke now at this point. It's like, hey, I mean, what do we have to lose? Okay, I'm either maybe if I have a clean car, I might lose the bonus points for that, for the incident-free race. But a lot of guys just might want to say, hey, you know what? It's worth the risk, because right now the only people that are going to lose out from it, to my opinion, are those top 3. So You never know. And then that's like I said, Matt Wagner, Josh Lassen, same thing. This actually could be a good opportunity for them that we mentioned. They actually had to pit early there. If I'm Josh here, they pitted 3 laps before, actually 3 or 4 laps before some of the leaders. I would just stay behind these guys and just save every ounce of fuel you can to try to make it to the end. Because
Yeah.
even though you're lapped, you're what, 6th and 7th spot right now. So that's just how spread out this field has gotten with this being caution free thus far.
Yeah, that's not a bad position to be in for sure, especially for the points. You'd expect them to try and see what they can do to save. I mean, they came down 21 laps before the end of the race, so they're going to have to save at least 2 laps of fuel, which being by themselves is definitely not going to be easy, especially Matt Wagner was full throttle for at least 5 or 6 laps there, being stuck out by themselves. So it's definitely going to make a huge difference. I don't think he's going to be able to save enough to get all the way around, but that 09 machine might be able to just barely make that. So definitely a long stretch. Hoping obviously that they can do it, but it's definitely not going to be easy.
Yeah, so yeah, that's the strategy for those guys. Like I said, it's going to be fuel save. Bud Steele, honestly, too, he's going to be in. Well, actually, no, it looks like Bud actually he's tagged onto a draft group now. He's got the 36, the 67, and the 510. So that's good news for Bud as well, because remember he pitted a lap earlier than the rest of the field, so he was maybe a little tighter on fuel as well. But now, yeah, so he should be able to save that lap as well on his side. But yeah, right now, like I said, now it's just kind of it's honestly going to be a bit of a wait and see moment here for these remaining 12 laps that we've got in this race, because I don't see any silly moves being made by the top 3. And like I said, there's not a lot of I mean, I'm looking for like actual battles for position. Other than the top 3, Matt Wagner and Josh Lassen, they're right together for position. I don't see them doing anything crazy to pass each other. And then same thing, Jim Brooks and Todd Merkel. Those are positions in front of those two. I don't see Jim doing anything crazy to try to get around Todd either here to the end. So
Yeah.
uh, right now, like I said, unless a mistake is made somewhere, this definitely does have that green look to the end. And say preemptive apologies to the boot knockers if I wind up jinxing it, but it definitely has that look to it here as we're coming down now, 11 to go.
11 laps to go, yep. We do see the 6 machine of Matt Wagner's kind of peeking his nose out to the outside at sometimes. I don't know. I would assume he's not getting hot. I mean, maybe he does have some residual damage from that motor, but he definitely would expect him to have to save a ton of fuel if he is going to make it all the way in there. As you see, jumps out just to peek that nose out there. I don't know if he's just trying to get clean air on that number 6 mobile machine or mobile 1 machine or not, but definitely, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. If they can finish 6th and 7th, that would be a pretty good spot, but if they do have to pit one more time, you would expect at least Todd Merkel, Jim Brooks, and Derek Buffo to pass them. So just have to wait and see, but there's not that many laps as we're coming by to 10 laps to go.
Yeah, it looks like I think they're trying to pick up Nick Manfredi there, and I don't think it was going to quite work out. He's right on the edge of grabbing back onto him, but I don't know if he's going to make it. And the problem is, I think in doing so, they're kind of at risk of losing that top 3 themselves here. So you have to be careful playing too nice, because it could wind up burning you. Because I'm watching, there's a big separation between the 09 and the 6 now. And a pretty big gap between the 6 and the 071. So they're kind of playing with fire a teeny bit there. Because if those top 3, if they're able to kind of get that lock onto each other and do that tandem like you talked about, they could easily break that draft from those drivers 4th on back there with Josh and Matt and company. Honestly, I think they've already done it. I think that draft is gone. I don't think those guys are going to hang on anymore.
Yeah, no, they're definitely too far back, and they're way too far disconnected, unfortunately, at this point. But yeah, that's really crazy that they just from that little bobble is trying to get Nick Manfredi back into the draft. Unfortunately, that really hurt their efforts and their chances. They will stay here on the 1 lap down, but I don't think that they're gonna be able to save enough fuel at this point to make it the rest of the way. So
yeah, I was gonna say the pace is gonna slow down too. They're gonna lose that.
Matt's back to full throttle again now, which he has to be because he's not in the draft. So there's no way that either of them are gonna be saving enough fuel to go the rest of the way, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch the gap too, because even without it, I almost wonder too if Jim and Todd would have been able to catch them even just on outright pace, because right now it's about a 7.5 second gap between them, so they would need almost a second a lap to catch them.
Yeah.
And right now, I mean, the ticker's going the right way, but not really fast or anything like that. But So yeah, right now, I mean, we're down single digits here though, Boomer. We're 8 to go. And yeah, I mean, right now it looks like it's gonna probably be a boot knocker 1, 2, 3 here. The question will be kind of who gets it where because Brian Wing, he's only had one start so far this season. Gabe and Eric, like I said, they're pretty much top of the points right now. I think first and fourth, respectively, if I remember correctly.
Yep, you're right.
So I mean, they're good to go on the point side of things. You almost wonder if maybe like, hey, I know Brian's missed a lot of races, but he could maybe make that top 12 in points here with a max points night here potentially. Looking to see for any extra bonus points. Obviously, pole bonus point went to Gabe in the 88 car. Right now, we've got a tie for highest climber between that 67 of Derek Buffo and the 63 of Brandon Briggs, plus 6 spots respectively. So that could change. Looks like mentioned, if Matt Wagner and Josh Lassen have to pit, that actually could separate themselves where the 67 would gain those extra spots, and then he would actually jump above Brandon on that side of things. So, hold on, I'm listening to there's some big no's being said here. Not sure what that. I think everybody's got different strategies. I think they're trying to save fuel, and someone's trying to be nice and let them go. And I don't think they wanted it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think the 6 and the 09 are trying to let the 63 go. I think the 63 is trying to let them go. It's one of those nobody wants to lead because they all want to try to make it to the end here.
Yeah, we'll see. The 63 last pitted on lap 56, so he should be okay.
He's close.
Yeah, that's close. I mean, that's 19 laps. That's not too bad. Matt Wagner and Josh Lapston have 2 laps less than Brandon does, and nobody's gone more than 19 laps. So if anything, obviously for their sake, Brandon would probably be the best one to lead this pack, but he obviously feels like he is close enough on fuel himself. But we've got 6 laps to go, coming to 5 laps to go. Let's take a quick through the field just to get an update on where everyone is. Obviously, we kind of have focused mostly on this main pack here, but Brian Wayne, Gabe Butler, and Eric Laurie, Team Butaka Esports teammates, are still lined up nose to tail at the front of this pack. 13 seconds off of this pack is another pack led by Austin Call, with Todd Merkel in the 3, who is 1 lap down, the 51 of Jim Brooks, who is also 1 lap down, and I believe that is the 29 machine of Nick Monfretti, who is 3 laps down as well. So that is the next pack that is 12 seconds off the lead. Then I believe you got to go back all the way to Bud Steele here in 5th place, still on the lead lap, but 23.5 seconds back from the pack. He's got the 36 machine of Jimmy Pilon in front of him, and the 67 of Derek Buffo, as well as the 510 of Rick Sanchez. Then you've got that pack of Matt Wagner and Josh Laston, as well as the 63 of Brandon Briggs. And I'm looking through to make sure I didn't miss anybody, but that should be everyone of who is left. So there are only 5 cars on the lead lap. Now we're going to go across the stripe. It'll be 4 laps to go this time by. The top 3 are really the only ones who are in contention. Austin Call on the lead lap, but 14 seconds back. Bud Steele another 10 seconds behind that. And pretty much we'll wrap this up. I'm curious to see at the end of this, Gael, what's going to happen, because I know we've seen a lot of times where the Team Butnaka Esports drivers pretty much just stay in line and push who's ever in front to the win. But with this opportunity to be this far ahead of everybody else, I don't know if they would try and see who else could get the win. I mean, obviously you mentioned the 07 of Brian Wang hasn't led any races or run any races until tonight. I don't think he's going to have enough to get to the top 12 in points. Top 12 cutoff right now is Brad Slago with 114. I don't quite see them being able to get there, get him to the that cutoff spot of 12th, but who knows? Maybe they will just push him to the finish and to the win to try and get him a chance to get into these playoffs.
Yeah, actually, there was a close call there just a moment ago with the 10 of Bud Steele on that 67 car, where they were getting really close together. It was almost a push-the-pusher situation, and honestly, that could have been a yellow if not for the quick hands of Bud Steele there. So dangerously close there. And I was about to say, is those top 3, they're just thinking everybody's got to keep it clean and green here, and no silly moves, no mistakes there. But yeah, that was a close moment there. I think, like I said, the 67 kind of got right to the got a little bit of a bump there and had to hang on to that one. So good hands by Bud there. Not what he wanted to have happen for sure, but yeah, kind of wild there. So I mean, I say we're lapping the halfway for these leaders. Like I said, they want this thing. They want to see that white flag because then they know it's an official race. They can race it out amongst themselves. But when things get a little dicey around these guys, they get nervous there. And yeah, so that's the last thing I want to see in these last as they come through 3 and 4 to take that white.
Going to be coming down the short chute off of turn number 4 and through the tri-oval. If it stays green, they will get the white flag, and the next flag will end the race. And one of these 3 drivers you see on your screen now will be the winner through the tri-oval. White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go.
All right, so now do we see them stay lockstep? Do we see maybe a Daytona, or sorry, 24 Hours of Le Mans style, like kind of where they try to line up for a nice photo finish between the 3 of them? Or do we see kind of, okay, who can make the move at the end and try to, maybe we see some side drafting amongst each other? So I say we know it's going to be one of these 3 unless something drastic happens. And I can tell you that Matt Wagner and Josh Lassen, they have pretty much dropped anchor to try to make it to the end of this race. So Todd Merkel, Jim Brooks might be able to grab 6th and 7th off the 2 of them.
Jimmy Pyland hits pit road this time as he's running out. White flag in the air, checkered flag this time by the 07 machine. It is going to get a push from the 88 of Gabe Butler. They are going to stay in line after dominating this race. Team Butnaka sweeps the podium. Definitely a dominating performance as they were able to make their way to the front of the pack and pretty much stay there. Obviously their teammate of the 510 of Rick Sanchez unfortunately going a lap down from the pit road violation, but these 3 drivers ran a really great race, were very organized all night long, and were rewarded with the victory.
Yeah, looks like, I believe, so we talked about the best of the rest, if you will. I believe it looks like Jim Brooks wound up grabbing the 6th spot, if I'm not mistaken, from Todd Merkel there at the end. And then, yeah, Todd Merkel there 7th, Josh Lassen 8th there, and Matt Wagner wound up running out of fuel, winds up in the 10th spot. But yeah, everything went pretty much to perfection, though, for those top 3 boot knockers, though.
Definitely a great opportunity for those guys, for sure. So we're going to get a chance to interview our 3 podium finishers. As you mentioned, the Team Butnaka sweep of that podium. And
what I like doing those boomers when they do what they do, it's fun to we'll just grab them all in as a pile here. I don't know if you want to go over the final results first, or if you want to go ahead and we'll talk to them first. I'm not sure the order you do it. I don't want to step on your toes too much.
No, yeah, let's go for it. Let's bring them up, and we'll bring all 3 of them up at the same time. That's a great idea, Gael.
All right, so let's grab these 3 troublemakers here that were able to just kind of beat up on the field here tonight. And I'll say, I mean, first off, I mean, great job tonight. I'm gonna rib you guys a little bit though, because I think you made, I wouldn't say made enemies, but I think a few guys like, man, they kind of picked on me there tonight. Bud Steele being one of those in the 10. And then honestly, I feel like poor Rick a few times was in the spot to maybe be the lucky dog. You guys would be able to clear him, and then they dropped to the bottom, and poor Rick was left out hung to dry there tonight. But I mean, just take us to the race. Obviously, clean and green to the end. Brian going and getting the win. I think maybe some team strategy going on there. I mean, but let's take us through the race. We'll kick it off with you though here, Eric.
Just run and see if you can keep up with everybody tonight. No, the car ran good. Everything went good for us. Pit stops are a little bit slow for me, but other than that, just keep up with everybody.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think you guys were the most organized as far as every pit cycle went. Just about every time someone came down to pit road, you guys were able to pull away from at least one more driver. I mean, obviously Gabe, you guys really did a really good job getting in and off of pit road and getting to be able to be the 3-car breakaway that you were at the end of that race.
Yeah, I guess we were. I hate being like that for everybody else though, but it's racing. But yeah, we had good pit stops and get in, get out.
Yeah, the last pit stop was definitely obviously. I feel like that's what kind of separated because it let you guys bust away from that number. The 64 sorry of Austin Collie able to sneak away from him there. So say we'll bring you in, Gabe, because I'll say obviously after your final stop, you were able to kind of sneak away there at the end and work with your teammates there. And then we were debating what the plan was going to be. If it was going to kind of you guys stay lockstep like you do so many times with whoever came out first would be the one to lead it to the end, or maybe we'd see some strategy at the end to maybe see who could kind of side draft the other the best. Or I mean, what was your guys' thought there after the final pit stop and kind of the game plan there through the checkered?
Well, mainly we wanted to try and get away, and I think we had one more car that was staying with us, Austin, and I don't know if he had a mistake on pit road or what, but Austin lost his there. So after that, Brian was in the most need of points, so we decided just to stay in line. Myself and Eric are pretty comfortable, so Brian's a bit of a long shot to make the playoffs, but we'll see if we can help him any way we can. And it's a good start with the win tonight for him.
Yeah, there's definitely something that we kind of guessed at on the broadcast. Obviously, would be a tall task to get him into the playoffs, but definitely not impossible. So we'll have to wait and see what you guys can do here next week as well. But obviously, we mentioned in the past, you guys teamwork is by far one of the most, the best executed. I mean, did you guys expect this race to go this far green, and did you expect to be able to leapfrog and well, not leapfrog, but did you expect to get that much of a jump on the rest of the field every time you came down pit road, Gabe?
In all honesty, no, because every week the guys that are driving this car consistently are improving every week. And if you notice tonight, there was still quite a few guys hanging with us, and I think they may have had issues with their pits. And that's how we kind of broke away eventually from them. But overall, I think a lot of these guys did a really good job, and they're getting better and better at the car. And I think we're a little bit more used to it because we've run it a little bit more. I mean, Brian and Kevin are probably the most experienced in this car, maybe even Richard. Myself and Eric really don't run it that much, but we're learning as we go, and we continue to learn and see what we can and can't do, and try and pick up tips from other guys that are better in this car than us. So
Yeah.
it's a learning curve.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, like we said, we've documented it before. You guys had a lot of great teamwork, and it's really cool to see you guys being able to pull away. And definitely, unfortunate that there weren't so many cars there at the end, but kind of made it pretty easy after that last pit cycle. But I did have one more question for you, Gabe, because I did notice you switched back to the Chevrolet. Was there an update in iRacing that changed the front nose of these Chevrolets to make them more push friendly? Was that the reason why you switched back this week?
Kevin had mentioned something during the week that he thought the Chevrolets were better pushing now, and I tried it tonight. And initially, it was a little bit hairy, but then as the race wore on, and maybe it's something to do with the tires or the burning off of fuel, but it definitely felt way better. I felt way more comfortable pushing in the Chevrolet, so I'm back to my Chevy.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing you feel better now on that one, Gabe.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I kind of felt like a traitor in that Ford, but it served its purpose for a few races anyway.
Yeah, I know you guys have quite a bit of a commitment to drawing your own races, and the Ford noses typically are a lot more flatter and easier to push with. I know for a fact that the Cup Series in real life, the Chevys have changed quite a bit to smoothen the front end of that nose, and at least as far as in the sim, it appears like that nose is a little more smoother than it had been in the past, but who knows? But it's good to see you guys back in a Chevrolet once again, and in a Chevrolet tonight was the '07 of Brian. Obviously, we mentioned this is your first race of the season, first winning percentage of 100% so far this season. Definitely a great opportunity for you guys tonight, and take us through how the teamwork went to get you that win tonight.
Yeah, actually, I think I did the first race of the season, and that was about it. And so I think I'm at 2 starts now, I think.
Yeah, this was
But
your second. Yeah,
Yeah, my
yeah,
apologies. Yep.
overall the race was pretty smooth for us. The first two stints, there were still quite a few cars with us, and yeah, I went back quite a few times just to get some racing happening because the problem with uh, the single file is that some of these guys are just not aggressive enough on the pushing at all, and so that's why they may think that the outside might be not possible to pass, but it's definitely possible. You just gotta know how to drive this car well. And yeah, overall the race went smooth for us, and I actually took right sides on both of my uh, on the first two pit stops, and that was about 2 seconds slower than Gabe and Eric with their left sides. So I was pretty surprised that we still had a lot of the pack lose us. But yeah, that was just a pretty decent race for all of us. And yeah, thanks to Gabe and Eric for the push at the end.
I mean, do you think it was Gabe and Eric there for the win, or you think it was the Larry Yingling special paint scheme tonight that put you over the edge this evening?
Oh, it's got to be the Larry Yingling paint scheme.
Yeah, I was mentioning that during the broadcast. Obviously, for those that were familiar with the Thursday premiere series we were running for a while, say that car was no stranger to victory lane. So I'm sure, hopefully, we'll have to link this over to Larry to show that you did him proud there with all the sponsors on the hood there, and on the sides of that car. Because yeah, I mean, like I said, you guys did really well. You're able to kind of get hooked up together there, and then break away at the end. And like I said, I mean, caution free as well. It seemed like just every pit stop you guys were able to sneak away from one another. That little bit mistakes happened a few times, drivers speeding on entry and so on. So, however, though, before we let you guys go and debrief and celebrate, we got to definitely give you all the floor for any thanks and shout outs. So we'll go in podium order. So we'll reverse it again. So we'll kick it off with you, Eric, then Brian, or then Gabe, then Brian. So, yeah, Eric, any thanks and shout outs, sir?
Well, thanks to Area 51 for putting these on, and thanks to you guys for what you guys do, and thanks to my team.
Yeah,
You, Gabe.
I'll second all that. Just a great job by the boot knockers tonight. It's always a pleasure running with these guys. And quick shout out to my wife Jeannie. She is actually watching the race. She watched the whole thing tonight, so I hope she enjoyed it. And Area 51 for putting on this league. It's always a blast, and of course you guys for broadcasting the big show. I say it every time I'm interviewed. It's a blast going back and watching this stuff and getting your analysis on it. So well done, guys. Appreciate you.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
appreciate her support as well, watching in. So thanks for the shout out to her, and appreciate all of our listeners and watchers here, and appreciate you guys will go back and watch these as well. So one more though, we got Brian. Want to give you your chance to give your thanks and shout outs as well for that victory here tonight.
Yeah, thanks to you guys for broadcasting. Everyone at Area 51, these cars are a blast. I just wish more people did these races and drove these cars more because these are really, really fun. Thanks to Gabe and Eric for the push at the end and the rest of Team Bootnaka. And yeah, that's everything.
All right, good deal. Well, congratulations again, Brian, on that win. Hopefully, get to see you in the playoffs if you can make up enough spots. But a great opportunity for the 07 tonight. So definitely a lot of fun, Gael. I mean, I did not expect, this is not the first race of the season that has gone green all the way, but I did not expect that with some of the chaos that we had seen at certain times.
Yeah, no, definitely clean and green. I say we have seen some pretty chaotic races towards the end of the leading up to the playoffs, but tonight was definitely a little calmer tonight. As I think, I mean, it wasn't a small, I mean, I'd say just under 20 or so, but like I said, I think what happens, like I said, once it breaks up, everybody starts to kind of sneak away from one another. It just kind of, like I said, it kind of builds that lean and green look to it. But man, once again, though, I mean, I'm looking at the results of the race and still. We talked about bonus points. Still, Eric Laurie now 28 bonus points over the course of the season. Still only 4 incidents out of 7 races in. So, a really, really clean racer in the 071. He's been keeping himself out of trouble, and that's why he's up in there in that top spot in the points heading into the regular season finale next week at a very difficult track though of iRacing Superspeedway.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we saw probably one of the craziest races I think I've seen in a very long time in league racing at iRacing Superspeedway. The last time we were there, it's not the first time we've gone, so at least there is a little bit of familiarity for these drivers at that track. But it should definitely be a great battle to set our playoff grid, as we'll go back through our results one last time from tonight here at Talladega. Again, Brian Wayne, Gabe Butler, Eric Laurie from Team Bootnaka Esports grabbing the podium sweep, with Austin Call and Bud Steele rounding out the top 5. Jim Brooks grabbing a couple spots there on that, or one spot on that last lap to overtake Todd Merkel, and Josh Laston, unfortunately, just about running out of fuel and lost a couple spots there. Derek Buffo gaining one over Matt Wagner, who was out at the end of the race. And then we mentioned Richard Sanchez in 11th place, had his issues on pit road with that speeding penalty. Brandon Briggs, Nick Monfretti, Edwin Outlaw, and Jimmy Pyland will round out the top 15 from tonight. And Joshua Hanner, Chris Bassini, and Larry Fairman will round out the last of the field. We did have Tom Dixon in there as well, but he did not start the race tonight. So that will be all of our finishers who took to the grid. And want to give you, Gael, any chance to go through any closing thoughts from tonight's battle here at Talladega.
No, it was a good race. Like I said, these guys say the strategy. Like I said, I'm sure Bud kind of feels like he say, what did he do wrong there to get bullied by those guys at the end? But at the same time, though, I mean, this is still regular season, so he's like, all right, you got one on me this time. You know what? We still got the 4-race playoffs, so I'll be ready for the next time. He'll be able to learn and adjust from the next ones. And yeah, looking at the points too, there were a few shuffles here. So Todd Merkel with his role, he jumped 6 spots. He's now in the top 10 in that playoff spot. Edwin Outlaw, he's actually jumped as well 3 spots to get himself into a tie, I should say, for 11th, which then net puts him in 12th. And somehow still holding on by the skin of my teeth myself. I'm still hanging on to that final spot as well. But Brian Wing, he jumped into 18th in points, plus 11. Larry Fairman jumped to 15th in points. So there's still, I say it's going to take a big result. But I mean, you saw Brian, he got max points tonight. If he gets max points next week, I'm not going to say it's out of the question. I think that could get him right about at the number. So it's going to be tight, but it'll be fun to see who gets into the top 12 after next week's race. And of course, again, you got to mention the 1 drop week available for all the drivers. So we'll see how that shakes things up as well.
Yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see how it goes next week. We're going to try and keep you updated throughout the race as far as who is in, who is out, as the top 12 in the point standings will be the drivers who make their way into the playoff field and will be in contention for the championship. Obviously, this is week 7 of that 12-week schedule, so we'll have week 8 next week, and then 4 races, the final to finish with 12 races on the season. The final 4 races will be our playoffs to settle a championship with those top 12. So definitely a lot of action here on Green White Checkered TV on Sunday nights. There's definitely a lot of action to catch up on Thursdays, as well as the Truck Series will be back here at Talladega as well to run their 7th race of the season. And I know that battle in the championship is definitely getting, definitely heating up, as well as there's definitely a decent field that participates in those trucks on Thursday nights, so it'll be a lot of action that you'll want to see. Catch up with Maxwell Caldwell, who'll be running the shots there on Thursday nights. He's gonna have a lot of fun action for you there. So we'll be back next week, though, at iRacing Superspeedway. For myself, Boomer Logan, and for my teammate Gael Brooks tonight, we've had a lot of fun. Hope to see you all back next week, and hope you have a great week. And until then, this has been our coverage of the Area 51 Sunday Night Superspeedway Series. Take care and stay safe.